500 Uganda shillings only. Visit the nearest Airtel shop and get one today. Airtel, the smartphone network.
It's the weekly business roundup, the show that brings to you those trending business stories that made news in the week. Tonight's highlights: thousands of NSSF contributors queue to apply for their midterm access fund. Ministry of Energy and Minerals is to decentralize utility courts to tackle vandalism. Ugandan women embrace technology for business growth and sustainability. And on the continental scene, Africa seeks for additional funding to accelerate recovery from the COVID-19 effects. Without further ado, stay tuned. It's time for business. Thousands of people are flocking to the NSSF head offices in Kampala to apply for their savings through the midterm access window. According to the fund's manager, the turn-up is overwhelming, and this has led to the suspension of all field activities.
After the announcement on the operationalization of the NSSF Act amendments of 2021, the public has rushed to the National Social Security Fund to apply for part of their savings by utilizing the clause which allows midterm access.
We have many people, workers who are stranded, like we have been in Kororo. People slept in Kororo and there was nobody to attend them. So this is our money, we saved it.
The fund management is overwhelmed by the huge population applying for their savings and is planning special arrangements in open places.
Our uptake of payments is about 200 payments per day. Already today, we know that even just here at head office, we've had over 300 people coming into our premises. So we think that we will be able to take in at least as many as double the amount we would normally have taken in. That's about 800 set today, because it's the first day, and hopefully those numbers should then peter off as we go forward.
Those with unmatching personal details are advised to rectify before applying.
To be able to qualify, you will need your NSSF number given. We will need a passport photo given. We will need a valid bank account. Number 3, you'll need a phone number. And number 4, you'll need a national identity card.
The total number of eligible members for 20% access is 41,174, and the fund is expecting to spend 50 billion Uganda shillings every week in paying these members. This will affect the fund's investment strategy, especially in the capital market.
We've been investing in short-term instruments, and the reason is simple. Because we did not know when the law will be passed, we did not know when the president would pass it, but we knew that as soon as he passed it, people will be on our door.
This lump sum of money outflow from the fund will directly impact on the annual interests of the saving members.
Our target was to receive 1.5 trillion shillings this financial year. It looks like we will only achieve 1.3 trillion, 1.4 trillion, so we'll be short by about 100 billion.
Despite the midterm access provided for in the new NSSF amendment, the law also enlarged the scope of the fund operations.
We will be able to raise an additional 90 billion shillings due to the expansion of our mandate, because now our mandate includes employees who work for entities that are employing less than 5 individuals.
The fund is expecting to release at least 1.8 trillion Uganda shillings in payment to the 57% eligible beneficiaries in the midterm access window, and the average payment is 19 million Uganda shillings. Open places like Kololo Airstrip have been organized to cater for huge numbers of applying members, and the first payment will be made on the 17th of March 2022. Charlotte Amuge and Abdul Nasir Luwama for UBC News.
Relatedly, as NSSF strives to cater to the overwhelming numbers of eligible midterm access savers, we examine new opportunities that come with the new NSSF law and offer some statistics on the fund's current status. In a bid to increase social protection in Uganda, the new NSSF law now allows government officials, contractors and subcontractors, among other entities, that formerly did not contribute to the fund.
The old law did not allow partners, things like lawyers, things like accountants who are partners in organization, to actually become members of NSSF. Now it allows us that. It incorporated in trustees. There are companies that are incorporated like trustees. Again, they were allowed to register. And the big one is a business registered under any other law for the time being in force, governing the establishment of business entities. So as you can see, whole encompassing, because there are a lot of people, especially those who would work like consultants and that sort of thing.
Under Section 13 of the new law, voluntary contributing companies or persons in the informal sector are now allowed to make top-ups on contributions.
So today you make 5% contribution and your employer puts there 10%. You can now top up on your 5% and say, ask for 10% to be made, and your employer also contributes 10%. So allowing you to top up. Contributing employer who wishes to make a voluntary contribution under Section 1 may authorize his or her employer in writing to deduct an agreed amount for the employee's wage, again allowing you the flexibility to top up.
NSSF has 17 branches, 4 sub-branches and 23 outreach centers across the country, slightly over 2.1 million contributors. For the last 3 years, NSSF has maintained a 10% average in interest payments to its contributors. However, it is important to note that the one-month compliance has been declining since the 81% peak in 2017-18 to 50% in 2019-2020 due to various factors. Wadulo, Arnold, UBC News, Kampala. As more Ugandan women enroll into the technological space, gender equity and inclusiveness is key if the solutions developed are to holistically solve society's challenges. Now we share with you the thoughts of some women that are driving the agenda of women inclusion in the technology space. The tech industry in Uganda and across the world remains male-dominated. One of the main reasons for this status quo is the gender stereotype that it is a masculine profession.
ICT used to be looked at something for, let me say, for men. You could find that ladies were left out in this.
Being a woman in a field that is too much male-dominated is not like very, very easy. But again, since I'm a professional teacher, I learned skills of how I can survive.
Studies show that diversity in companies is important and that the multiple perspectives of a diverse team are key to innovation.
The important thing is both perspectives are important for tech development to be successful. If you have purely a male perspective when you're developing your technology, you're developing your solution, it's going to be skewed because it won't serve humanity, it won't serve the business environment, it won't be competitive because 50% of the users of your technology solution are women.
Damali Sali is currently Uganda's ambassador of the Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization, with a range of expertise including financial services, trade policy, technology, innovation, entrepreneurship, and is the founder of the Ideation Corner.
In 2019, High People conducted a survey in Uganda that showed that women account for less than 10% of the people who make up the teams in technology. And then in 2020, the IMF issued a report that showed that a country or an economy that has equal gender representation in its economic activities has the potential or capacity to grow by an additional 1% in its gross domestic product.
Similarly, Valentine Masicha is a technology entrepreneur that is passionate about impacting Ugandan communities through her organization, Mindset Coders.
When you have a balance of gender roles and the way we think and the way we do stuff, bringing different perspectives together, it's room for growth. And it's also, diversification makes more money because we are now thinking together in a way that affects all genders.
Mindset Coders is working with ICT Teachers Association for technology use in Ugandan schools. This also includes a campaign to steer more women into the profession.
It has been made practical because learners do what they can see.
So now if we have more teachers getting involved in technology, using it in the classrooms, using it to assess, using it to manage the system within the school, then it's a good thing, makes the teachers comfortable, interacting with technology, makes the students more exposed to technology.
Damali and Valentine are among the growing number of women spearheading gender inclusiveness in the technological sector of Ugandans. However, there is still no statistical research on how many professional women are entering the sector. Wadulo Mark Arnold, UBC News, in Kampala. Government has committed to support financial technologies through building a reliable internet infrastructure for financial inclusion. Now, while releasing the FinTech Ecosystem Report 2021, the State Minister for ICT, Joyce Sebugwawo, underscored the relevance of financial technologies in the implementation of the National Development Plan 3.
I'm very excited.
Government of Uganda prioritized technology advancement as a fundamental pillar to implement the National Development Plan 3, and the need for reliable internet infrastructure has been upheld.
Contribution that fintechs across the different sectors are making on the National Development Plan, especially in promoting financial inclusion, building local innovations, attracting investment.
The report by Financial Technology Service Providers Association indicates an appreciation of financial technologies in sectors of banking operations, digital lending and microcredit, payments and digital wallets.
So new markets are evolving. There's the regular markets like the Uganda economy, but there's upcoming markets that we're not tapping into, like the regions, the DRC, the South Sudans. We're going in and we're doing trade, but how many fintechs are actually thinking of going in those markets?
Limited capital to support new financial technologies and uncoordinated regulations are affecting the operations of financial technologies.
There's demand. It's just we need to understand why we're not attracting as much funding as we can for capital.
Central Bank believes financial technological evolution has transformed service delivery, enriching customer expectations.
It's established a dedicated fintech office in the National Payments System Department to champion this cause, and we will continue to play our roles variously, and of course, including the following: promoting infrastructure development and interoperability, including a national switch to support affordable retail payments, advocating with government and MNOs the increased broadband, internet and telephone coverage, especially in rural areas.
Government intends to leverage on the Financial Payment System Act of 2020 to oversee the smart operations of these financial technologies to ensure public trust. Abdul Nasir Lubwama for UBC.
Northern Uganda region and the West Nile is to benefit from adequate electricity transmission infrastructure. This follows the groundbreaking of the 132 kV Gulu-Wagago transmission line and associated substation.
The groundbreaking ceremony for the 132 kilovolt Gulu-Wagago transmission line and associated substation at Gowari village is one of government and development partners' efforts geared at meeting the energy needs for the northern Uganda population that continues to grapple with intermittent power supply.
The challenge presents itself in terms of right-of-way, where we get challenges in accessing some sites because of compensation issues. But this is one of the projects where we have had, we have started on a very high note as far as compensation of project affected persons is concerned, and we are at 96% compensation. We have a few residual issues that are contained in a supplementary report, which we have already submitted to the Chief Government Valuer. Once these are attended to, the few PAPs that are remaining, we see a smooth ride for construction by the contractors.
There are so many developments. One, when this project came, a number of people benefited out of compensations. People got a lot of money. Out of this money, people have done with a lot of development within the place. If you see the center of Angagwara sub-county is developing so much very fast.
Executed under 2 lots, the 83 kilometers electrification project is funded by KfW to a tune of 40 million euros. This flagship project will consolidate stability in northern Uganda, help eradicate poverty and strengthen foundations for sustainable and inclusive social and economic development.
The project fits perfectly into this overall strategy to focus and foster the economic development here in the region. It allows for a decent living, it allows for economic development, for setting up companies and to bring about a good neighborhood and good relationship of the people to each other.
With a completion time frame of 18 months, the project implementers are appealing for support.
Yeah, from the funders and from UTCL side, the best thing is to support the contractor by releasing the payment on time, because without payment you cannot proceed for the site progress.
With a population of about 7 million people, northern Uganda has a huge development gap with reliable electricity supply, improved road network, peace and security. There is hope that the region will gradually catch up with the rest of the country. Dennis Igoa for UBC News in northern Uganda.
The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development is set to decentralize utility court so as to enhance the fight against vandalism of electricity infrastructure. Ruth Nankabira, the Minister of Energy and Minerals, is confident of long-term positive impact of court to the electricity sector.
Uganda has one utility court located in Kampala, which complicates the fight against vandalism of electricity infrastructure countrywide.
So somebody has slept outside waiting for the vandals, has gotten them. So you tell them to get a car, fuel, put the vandals on board, with the police probably, drive to Kampala. And then if we need witnesses, you have to call that person, come to court. So I am fighting for decentralization.
At the signing of the internally delegated contract between the Uganda Electricity Generation Company Limited and the Isimba Management, Minister for Energy and Mineral Development Ruth Nankabira said a decentralized system of utility courts will facilitate government program of rural electrification.
So that we don't demoralize the good citizens, the patriotic Ugandans who have listened to our cries, and they are now in the field looking for the vandals because they need electricity.
The internally delegated contract between Uganda Electricity Generation Company Limited and the Isimba Dam Management provides autonomy and minimizes bureaucracy of plant management.
Two agreements demand that we be efficient, so that the efficiency gains we get here from Isimba can be transferred to the end user, the customer.
This internal performance contract, the UGSL head office and the Isimba management teams will be committing themselves to the highest standard of accountability, professionalism in ensuring operational efficiency of this plant.
The management of Isimba Power Generation Plant has been entrusted with engineer Michael Elimo Esimu, who pleaded for more operational and maintenance funds.
So that is a risk to this business. It is a constraint, but we think UGCL as a company has that commitment, seeing that this plant has to run and we have to maintain these assets.
Abdul Nasole Lobwama and Charlotte Amuge, UBC News.
In our corporate news, various CEOs, business leaders and entrepreneurs that have set notable business trends in the country have been urged to see what others do not see. This was at the launch of the 3rd Business Trendsetters Forum 2022, held at Solid Rock Life and Business Offices in Chitante, Kampala.
In communities where innovation is not promoted, businesses often risk operating with outdated business plans and strategies. This is most times evident in developing economies.
So you must continuously seek out new things. Area dwelling has changed, you must change with it. If you don't change with it, you become not only obsolete, but irrelevant.
Knowing how to make human strength productive.
This launch is a momentum build-up for this year's 3rd Business Trendsetters Forum, a platform that converges private and public sector business players with an aim to set agendas.
On the continental scene, Africa is seeking additional financing for its economy as the continent strives to recover from the slowdown caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Economic experts say that the solution lies in empowering the private sector, but some entrepreneurs say financing schemes are too complicated to access.
The United Nations Economic Commission for Africa says while developed countries have deployed over $13 trillion to respond to the economic impact of COVID-19, Africa only managed less than $100 billion.
Unless the African private sector, whether it is SMEs or medium or large corporations, are fully supported and incentivized by the government, we will continue to be in a model where there is significant leakages. In other words, a project that could actually be created locally and create jobs will result in reliance on import, and as a result, exporting jobs, and as a result, creating the condition for our external liability and debt to increase.
Many in the private sector say conditions to borrow remain prohibitive, and lawmakers agree.
Today we are talking about financing, but then you go to the bank and they ask you for all these other collaterals, which a young person may not really have. And for our case in Uganda, if you're married, you can no longer own land in where you were born. Neither will you be the owner of land where you're married, but you want to do a business. So how do I access financing for business?
Some citizens say countries should have begun financing recovery with funds they acquired from agencies such as the International Monetary Fund at the peak of the pandemic.
We were telling people, oh, please wash hands. But you go in many of our capitals, the reticulation system, the water distribution system is so bad. So people are asking, but wash with what? There is no water. We are telling people social distance, but people are living in squalid conditions. And so what we could have actually used, the huge amounts of monies that we were able to access, we could have actually used those resources to plunge into those spaces of building the social policy. Because the greatest challenge that we do have right now is that our social indicators are depressingly poor.
Delegates here have also highlighted the need for countries to double effort to invest in science and technology to boost education.
Simply to think about the integration of ICT or in all things that we're doing in our life. Leaving ICT behind, for sure, you have to prepare the failure of everything.
How to make the online courses as effective as they used to be in person. So there are techniques that must be used, and investment, and also the way the lecturers are delivering. So we all need to reflect on that and not doing things like we used to do in the past.
For all these recovery plans and more, the African Development Bank estimates that African governments will need financing worth over $480 billion in the next 3 years. Financial experts say that the pandemic has reduced external development finance inflows. They say that Africa must capitalize in promoting domestic financing through the African Continental Free Trade Area that will have the private sector as its core. Coletta Wanjohi for CGTN in Kigali, Rwanda.
We are very mindful of also the challenges the private sector has faced in recent times. So we don't intend to introduce new taxes or increase the current rates, but we will enforce more enforcement. Compliance is needed now. We are also going to get more people into the tax bracket. Those are the reforms we are mainly looking at. We want also to enhance the management of public debt in line with our new charter for fiscal responsibility to ensure that our national debt stays sustainable. We are going to borrow largely concessional or longer term dated, commercial, to reduce our refinancing risk.
Busia district is popular for its gold reservoirs. The residents of Busia district have welcomed large-scale miners into their area. However, as investors deploy heavy machinery, the locals with low capital base use rudimentary means to have a share of their mineral wealth. Check it out in our Sounds of Business. Harnessing opportunities and managing risks is fundamental for personal growth and business growth. Ultimately, our success and failure comes down to us, and that is through our hard work and tenacity. Thank you for being a part of this week's episode of the Weekly Business Roundup with me, your host, Wadulo Mark Arnold. Catch us on the next same time, same place. From the team, we must say good night.
Need to send money to a loved one but you don't have enough on your phone? Have you run out of fuel but you don't have enough money? Do you want to pay for yaka or water but have insufficient funds? Or do you want to shop but you don't have enough money? Don't worry, get away with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial *165*5*3# to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
It's time to teach. Schools are open. In these days of COVID-19, teachers are not only giving knowledge, but protecting themselves and their students from the virus. As a teacher, You must ensure that students follow the set SOPs of always maintaining a distance of 2 meters from others in classrooms, dormitories, entertainment halls, school vans and playgrounds, wearing a washed and clean mask every day that covers their mouths and noses, and regularly washing their hands with soap and water. In addition to that, you must counsel students about stigma related to COVID-19 and discourage them from violence. Any violence against students from classmates, teachers or parents should be reported immediately to a school administrator or senior woman or man teacher for correction and further guidance. Ensuring everyone's safety is key, so make sure students are out of class by the official closing time. Let's share knowledge, not COVID-19. This message is supported by the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education and Sports, and UNICEF. Stay safe.
Where does it come from? That thing that makes us Ugandan. That thing that makes us different from everybody else. Where does it grow infinitely? Some say it's in our history, in our culture, and in our hearts, in our warm smiles and vast miles of coffee, dairy farmland, and amazing maize fields. It's in our inherent pursuit to always be better, to never stop growing and glowing. So you see, we are more than just a waving flag. We are a nation of sweat and skills, a nation of ideas and inventions. But what truly makes us Ugandan is our quest to improve the quality of life for Ugandans by creating sustainable jobs, businesses, and improving household incomes. That's what makes us Uganda Development Bank. Uganda Development Bank, inspiring development.
all different process. We appreciate the efforts of the NRM government to unite with us. There is opportunity to get our counterparts the name. So we are able to exercise equal rights and opportunities in the future. And I'm proud to recognize the list of the high-ranking female UBC national territories, female officers. Number one, the Presidential Consortium Director, the Presidential Director, the Presidential Party, the Director of the
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and Mama, the First Lady of Uganda, Your Excellency, the Vice President, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker of Parliament, the Deputy Chief Justice, the First National Vice Chairman of the NRM Party, the Right Honorable Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, those with us here and those that are watching us on TV, I welcome you all to this important day to celebrate the International Women's Day here in Uganda and here in Kororo. Further, Your Excellency, the women leaders request that targeted programs for skilling women in smart agriculture and other environmental protection initiatives be prioritized. As government rolls out different agro-based initiatives, there is need to equip women who are the minority in the agriculture sector with skills in smart agriculture, value addition, land use of increased productivity, and affordable energy-saving technologies. Women that eventually come up with initiatives to protect the environment should be supported and appreciated for their efforts. The way forest covers and wetlands will be protected. Your Excellency, we wish to thank the Minister of Education and Sports under the able leadership of Mama Janet Kataha Museveni for giving a second chance education for our young girls that became victims of COVID-19. We are confident that by allowing these girls that unfortunately got pregnant during the COVID-19 pandemic, we'll give them a chance to recover and refocus on bigger, brighter, and better tomorrow. We call upon the parents, community leaders, especially women leaders, and the schools to also offer a second chance and safe environment for the girls that could have become victims of this unfortunate period of the pandemic. Thank you, Mama. Thank you so much. We can't thank you enough. We applaud the government under your leadership for coming up with the parish development model strategy, which aims at improving household income. Thank you once again for involving the women council leaders, the chairperson of the parish on the parish executive committee, but also for a 30% reserve for women under this model. We pledge to mobilize all women of Uganda to support this effort and ensure its objectives are fully achieved. Mr. President, as we roll out the parish development model, the benefits of Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program should not be forgotten. And if possible, let WEP be retained. According to WEP Reports 2021, over 15,000 groups and over 18,000 women benefited from this program. We recommend that graduates of WEP should be identified and integrated as mentors of fellow women beneficiaries of parish development model. Your Excellency, yesterday 7th, we held our annual council meeting. We want to thank the Prime Minister who came and stayed with us and gave us words of encouragement. We want to thank our ministers. They were there with us. Honorable Mtuzo was there with us, and we appreciate. But of course, allow me to present to you the key recommendations of the 4th Annual Council Women's Conference, which was held yesterday 7th. The Women's Council leaders in that meeting, and they are here with us today, recommended that. We thank you, first of all, for being the best leader who has navigated this country through the COVID-19 pandemic period. Thank you so much. They recommended that the Women Council should not be merged with other councils due to its unique mandate to effectively mobilize and implement the various government programs for women economic empowerment. Your Excellency, the women also recommended that since the current parish women council leaders have been trained and are already deeply involved in the implementation of the parish development model, it is important to allow them uninterrupted time to effectively play the role in the implementation of this model. Women leaders still recommended that that they want to at least accept and meet with you, even today, before they travel back to their respective districts, to discuss other pertinent issues concerning mobilization and empowerment of women of Uganda. Your Excellency, the women recommended that we present to you a gift at an appropriate time, if you allow. Your Excellency, last but not the least recommendation is that they resolved to acknowledge and appreciate the role of a great mother, the late Mama Kokundeka Esther, for giving birth and nurturing and raising a great man today called His Excellency Kaguta Museveni. Mr. President, the Women Council wish to thank you for your support always. Your words of guidance, wisdom, and financial support have made us shine and strong. Through your guidance, we were able to develop a training manual for women leaders that promote gender equality and women's empowerment. This manual comprehensively covers different modules of mobilization, socio-economic empowerment of women, different government programs, early childhood development, gender-based violence, gender policies and laws, effective leadership, communication skills, lobbying and advocacy, but putting emphasis on family and child protection. As I conclude, the National Women's Council well-spread structure that runs from the village to the national level presents the most effective way to reach out to the grassroots women and their entire households across the country. I wish to take this opportunity to call upon all government ministries, departments, NGOs, local governments and development partners to utilize this channel for proper implementation of development programs that are of benefit to the ordinary woman. To the women leaders and women of Uganda, it's time to walk the talk. All women everywhere, stand up and embrace your roles today for us to have a sustainable tomorrow. Let us protect and preserve the environment. Let us nurture and raise our children in a way that can guarantee a sustainable tomorrow. Let us embrace education for us all and our children. Let us work hard to defeat poverty. Finally, we strongly appreciate our line minister, Honorable Betty Amongi, the sector minister, Honorable Peace Mutuzo, the permanent secretary, Mr. David Chibenge, the technical team of the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, and National Women's Council Secretariat for the continued support. UN Women, we cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much. Our esteemed development partners, the district local governments, women council leaders from the village to national level, stakeholders, and every one of you who have supported us all these years and for your contribution towards women empowerment in Uganda. Your Excellency, as women of Uganda, we appreciate you for the peace, security, and stability in Uganda. Thank you so much for gracing this important day. For God and my country.
Her Excellency the Vice President, His Lordship the Deputy Chief Justice, Right Honorable Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Ministers, the NRM Vice Chairman, Secretary General, Ministers, cultural leaders, honorable members of parliament, chairperson of the women councils, Their Excellency, the members of the diplomatic corps, army officers and officers of the security forces, all ladies and gentlemen who are here and those who are listening on the radio, on the media. First of all, I congratulate Ugandans and especially the women for coming up to this day of the Women's Day of 2022, having gone through the corona pandemic. Mukurkeyo akauka banange. The NRM position, right from the beginning, looks at the whole society. We aim to transform the whole of society. The problem of Africa is that we delayed in socio-economic transformation. Africa is the source of all human beings. All human beings started here. Even those whites you see, they were all former Africans. However, in the last 600 years, Africa has lagged behind in the process of socio-economic transformation. Society to become new. In Europe, they have now a middle class, skilled working class society. While here, we have some little middle class, but we also have a big group of what we call the pre-capitalist structures of society. People who have not understood the modern concept of money economy. That's why we talk of the Abakorora Chida Kyonka. Teach me each keken. Those are people who are not aware that in order to have a modern and better life, you must be part of the money economy. So therefore, the overall plan of the NRM from the very beginning was transform the whole of society. Because you cannot talk of women empowerment in a stagnant society. If the society does not transition, then there is no way the marginalized groups will be transformed themselves. So therefore, in our effort of socio-economic transformation, we use a number of stimuli from the very beginning. It is a multifaceted program. It's not one item. It's not one stimulus. It is a number of them. The first one is a strong security apparatus which can maintain peace in the country. And that's why I'm very glad that our guards are part of that structure as you see them here. You hear of the insecurity in many parts of Africa today. I am not surprised by that insecurity because some of our brothers and sisters looked at it in a different way. When we were in the student movement in the 1960s, we had differences with some of our colleagues. And what the Vice President said, those principles she mentioned, patriotism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation and democracy, were very crucial. If you don't get them, it's not easy for you to build a capable security apparatus. So that is element number one. Because of security, people are not running around. We no longer have refugees coming from Uganda going to other countries. We no longer have internally displaced people. Even when there are insecurity problems, they can be handled because we have the capacity. And because of that, people are in their homes or in schools or wherever they are supposed to be. And the economy is growing. So that is element number one, security. Number two, health. The society must be healthy, including the women. You take a small element like immunization. Immunization has changed the nature of our society. We have gone from 14 million people in 1986 to now 43 million people in just 30 years. Why was the population not increasing in the past? Because of health problems. Like when I look at the health statistics which are in that speech, you find that maternal mortality, mothers who are giving birth, in 2011 was 438 out of 100,000. It is now 336. It has gone down by more than 100. Of course, this is still not acceptable, but it's much lower than it was 10 years ago. Maternal mortality is coming down. Then you come to people who are giving birth in the health centers, 73% now. No more, much less delivery at home. Then you come to people, including the women, who are within 5 kilometers from a health center. 91%. 91% of Ugandans today are 5 kilometers or less from a health center. So this is on the side of health. That's why the population is growing. You are talking of the youth. The youth did not come from heaven. They came from a program. If there is any youth who does not consider himself for NRM, he must be having a problem with his head. Without NRM, many of those youth would be, but I'm going to call them Karuti, the one who died. Many of them would have died in infancy. So, security, element number one. Number two, health. If you talk of women empowerment. If the children are less sick, the woman is helped. Instead of looking after 6 children or losing them, it's much better for her own life, depends on health, but also the health of the children and the health of the other relatives. Then element number 3, education. That's why we introduced universal education. And want it to be free education. That's what I've been insisting on. You can see now the government schools are full of children now. The numbers have gone up. Now that education, the women have come up because of the limited measures we took. As I speak now, in 2001, the girls in the schools were 24%. But today, they are 49.9%, almost 50% of the enrollment in schools. And the literacy rate for women now is 72%. It has gone from 43% in 1986. It is still a bit lower than the men, because the men are now 81%. But this is still good speed. So education. Now, if we could implement free education, completely free, remove the school fees from the government schools, you would see, would move much faster. And that's what I'm insisting on in this Kisanja. But let us implement completely free education, remove the charges from the schools. Then number 4 is what some of you have been talking about, political empowerment. We created these structures deliberately. If you look at Parliament, the big number of the 500 or something MPs, members of Parliament, if we were only to depend on constituency members of Parliament, those who compete with men in the constituency, the constituencies are like 420. Out of those, the women are only 26. If therefore we had taken the old politics, because that's what the politics at independence, all of you compete at the constituency, would be having only 26 women out of 400 something members of Parliament. But I think the constituency MPs are less. There must be like 346. But because of our knowledge of our society, we said no. Okay, you're going to compete with the men. But let us also okubegera omwana omuwala. That's what we did. We said these seats are for the women. Some of the men are looking at them with greedy eyes. They would like also to. We said for the district, each district, one seat for women, only women. All of you can vote, even the men can vote, but you vote for only women candidates. Now that was Goko, Okubegera. And then we have to Okubegera the youth, the workers, the PWD, and recently we even added my constituency. The one of the elders, the one of Mafabi, and also the army. So, political empowerment, structures. Now, what you are celebrating now, when I appoint some of you, Vice President, Prime Minister, now that is in the Church of Uganda, when you go there to be admitted to prepare yourself to go to heaven later, to be baptized, they take water. They don't take milk or porridge, no, water. Water, puts a finger there, put something on your head. I put this sign of the cross. This sign of the cross is an outward sign that you have entered the you have entered into, I don't know what they call it in English, into the congregation or something. So when I appoint a woman vice president, this is a kabonero kokungulu. Nti abakazi nabo basobola. That women can manage. Doesn't mean that you're all going to sleep in her house, that she's now that she shares her salary with you. No. It is a kabonero kokungulu. It's an outward sign to show that I think that women can also manage, can also do. So that political empowerment, both structurally and symbolically, also helps in terms of shaping views. But the most important, then there is infrastructure. Infrastructure helps everybody, including women. When you have got piped water in the village, you are saving women from going to the well to look for water. When you have electricity, you are saving, or gas, you are saving girls from going to look for the firewood and the boys. All that infrastructure development, much of it is labor saving. And when it is labor saving, it helps everybody, including, and sometimes especially, the girls. Maize mills, instead of the grinding stone, of kid Lego, grinding stones, that can help the milling of cassava, the milling millet. So infrastructure development, some limited mechanization, the industrialization helps the women by taking away the back-breaking jobs. But the most important empowerment, and that's why I'm very glad that the Minister, Beta Mong, emphasized it, is economic empowerment. And this is what I want you to concentrate on this time. The two channels, the parish development model and the Myoga, will definitely make big changes in society. The parish development model is mainly with agriculture, with crops, livestock, and fisheries. The 100, this year, this financial year, up to June, we sent only 17 million per parish because the financial year had already started. But the financial year of July this year to June next year, we are going to send 100 million per parish. And when I was discussing with the ministers, I used the example of somebody who wants to plant 1 acre of coffee. In an acre of coffee, you need 450 seedlings of Robusta coffee. And when we calculated, I've forgotten the figures exactly, but that time when we calculated to buy 450 seedlings would require 180,000 shillings. So therefore, I am guiding you, the parish development models, when you are implementing, give each borrower 1 million shillings. Don't give him too little. Give him 1 million so that if he wants to plant coffee seedlings, he will use 180,000 to buy the seedlings, and the remaining 820 to do the other things, dig the holes, do this, bring the mulching, the what, so that he does all that he needs to do. And if you use that example of loans of 1 million, 1 million, 1 million, with 100 million, it means you will cover 100 homesteads in a year. In 4 years, we would have covered 400 homes. Or if we get money in the other coming years, we can add on and we'll give you 200 million instead of 100 million, then we can cover more. Now, many of the parishes have 1,000 homesteads, thereabout. But some of them are already catered for under the Operation Rent Creation and so on. Now, that is on the side of parish development model, which is mainly agriculture. but later on it will link with value addition and so on. But for the myoga, which are based, a myoga is one of your local words. Omwoga is a specialization. It is an old word. In the olden days, a blacksmith would be omwoga, a carpenter would be omwoga, omkomazi, the one who were making back cloth, those were omwoga, and so on. Even the herbalists that would be their omwoga. Any skill, any specialized skill is called omwoga. So the myoga would be at the constituency level. And among the myoga, we put their leadership. Leadership is also, we put it as a category among the 18. So you, the council leaders, you should borrow money from there. That money is there for you also. As leaders, all leaders are entitled to borrow from that money. The one of the myoga, of leadership, the 18 of them. Now, as you hear, commercial agriculture is one sector where the women and other people can get empowered. Then you have industry, the small and the big industries. For the villages, you can have the small industries, the maize mills, the oil mills, the milk coolers, the rice hullers, then they can link up with the bigger industries in the towns. Then you have the services, border, hotels, what have you. And then finally, ICT. ICT is mainly for the towns. So therefore, in this Kisanja, I want to really all of you to understand this effort, this stimulus of empowering women through economic empowerment. Because once a woman has got her own money, she will no longer be as vulnerable as those who are depending on men for livelihood. And some of the activities don't depend on land, because I know that the women have the problem, they may not be owning land because of the traditional system. But many of these activities don't need land, or they don't need much agricultural land. You can do some of them without running a small hotel, buying produce and selling it, bakery, tailoring. Those don't need a big amount of land. They just need to rent a space and you can start from there. So this is our comprehensive program for socio-economic transformation, including women empowerment. I want Africa, I want Uganda to become a middle-class society with a skilled class society and phase out the peasants. We want the peasants to disappear. Not by dying, but by ensuring that a peasant does not produce another peasant. The peasantry should not perpetuate itself. A cattle raider in Karamoja should not produce another cattle raider. A cattle raider should produce a farmer. Or a hotel owner, or a border operator, owner. The sectors are four: commercial agriculture, industry, services, ICT. All of us must join these. We don't want anybody to stay outside these four. Now, with this summary, I congratulate the women on this Women's Day, and I wish everybody. Now, but before I close, the issue of the parish model. The parish model, all the agricultural operators in the parish will join a parish circle. The Parish Development Council, where your people are, the chairperson of the Women Council is a member, the others are members. That one is a supervisory council. But the controllers are the circle, the people themselves, are very much into. The farmers, the cattle keepers, the fishermen in the parish. Now, when the money comes, it will come from finance straight to the circle. It will not go to the cow. It will not go to the county chief. It will come to the account of the circle of the parish. You need to understand this very clearly. This is a new approach. And it will be you, members of the circle, to decide how you start and from where you buy. But we want you to concentrate on the items which we have shortlisted for you, which is coffee, fruits, dairy, food crop, poultry, piggery, fish farming. Where they have big land, they can grow maize, grow. But for the smaller people, these 7 are the priorities, the ones you should spend the money on. Otherwise, the money will come directly to you. You are the one to buy the seedling yourselves. You are the ones to decide who gets first. It will no longer be government people, it will be you. You, the people, the stakeholders. With these few words, I congratulate everybody, and I wish you good luck.
Up next on UBC, brought to you by...
Keep the lights on. Use Airtel Money to pay for all your Yaka bills conveniently. Open the My Airtel app to buy Yaka units. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
Well, welcome back from that speech from the President on Women's Day. And now we delve into news. Now, before we delve into tonight's bulletin, let's first take a look at the top stories of the night.
Brought to you by
How to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS, load airtime, buy bundles, or pay for MTN subscription services.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
And now in our top stories of the night, Elim Pentecostal Fellowship gets a new bishop. Janet Museveni appreciates UN family for supporting education. UPDF officers medical services to Boga, Bulasi in DR Congo. And City Oilers blemished at the start of the search for the 8th Basketball League.
Was brought to you by Everywhere you go, MTN.
Well, good evening once again and welcome to our second edition of UBC News Tonight. I'm Lorene Masika Kazimoto and Muhammad Mugalu on sign language interpretation. Now we'll start off with our first headlining story this evening. President Museveni has urged churches in Uganda to continue being agents of positive change in society. He said they should mobilize the community to actively participate in programs that help in solving common problems affecting their well-being. We have the details.
Museveni, who was represented by the Prime Minister Robina Nabanja, was presiding over the consecration and enthronement of the Bishop-elect Julius Peter Eyit as the new bishop for Northern Uganda, Elim Pentecostal Evangelistic Fellowship of Uganda. The consecration and enthronement was conducted by the General Overseer, Elim Pentecostal Evangelistic Fellowship of Uganda, Bishop Dr. Frederick Maka. The function took place at the Mayor's Gardens in Lira City.
I will summon the Council of Elders at regular period as may be required time to time by those bodies. So help me God. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Museveni commended the church for reaching out to the people beyond the pulpit to enhance their participation in community development. Direct employment has been created through church-founded projects.
I wish to recognize the role of the church in shaping the morals of our society. Religious institutions have supplemented government efforts in raising people's living standards by providing literacy and skills through religious-founded schools, vocational institutions, universities, and promotion of good health through church-founded hospitals and clinics. Direct employment has been created through church projects.
The president congratulated the new bishop upon achieving this great milestone. He said this marks a new chapter that will bring increased prosperity and socio-economic transformation by Elim Pentecostal Church in northern Uganda. As it has been the tradition, the president donated a brand new car to Bishop Julius Peter Eyit.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Thank you.
I think you can sit in the car now.
Yes.
Museveni said the invitation to celebrate with the church this occasion was a demonstration of a cordial working relationship existing between Elim Pentecostal Church and the state. The Prime Minister also made a donation of 10 million shillings towards the completion of the multi-million church construction project. The National General Overseer of the Elim Pentecostal Church, Bishop Dr. Frederick Maka, spoke highly about the newly consecrated bishop for northern Uganda. He urged the followers in the Elim Pentecostal Church to explore his vast pastoral experience to spur development in the area.
A man I found in ministry when I came to the national office in 2006. I came in as the general secretary and he was the national treasurer. But he had served the Lord for many years, even more years than I had served myself. And I'm so honored and so humbled to be part of this day and to serve as the main celebrant over this consecration.
The Elim Pentecostals have over 1,100 churches in Uganda and over 220,000 followers. The consecration was attended by, among others, the Minister of Health, Dr. Ruth Acheng, members of Parliament from Lango sub-region, and a cross-section of leaders from the respective religious denominations in Uganda.
Now, the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Mrs. Janet Museveni, has appreciated the working relationship between the UN family in Uganda and the education sector over the years. She said the Education Ministry works very closely with all the UN agencies in the country and described the relationship as very good, healthy, and full of cooperation and trust. She particularly commended them for being very helpful and supporting the safe and successful reopening of the education institutions after 2 years closure owing to the COVID-19 pandemic. The First Lady was meeting the new United Nations resident coordinator to Uganda, Susan Ngugi Namondo, who paid a courtesy call on her at State House Nakasero. Janet Museveni also acknowledged the support of UNICEF and UNFPA towards the national campaign to curb child marriage and teenage pregnancies in the country. She requested the UN agencies to consider supporting the women leaders from religious groups who have joined this campaign to mobilize the grassroots. She also requested the UN resident coordinator to explore the possibilities of mobilizing the UN women to support the Office of the First Lady to revive the programs it used to do to guide the youth. Susan Ngugi Namondo, who assumed duty in July 2021, replacing Mrs. Rosa Malango as UN resident coordinator, said the UN family values the partnership between UN and Uganda. Higher Education Minister Dr. Chrysostom Miingo emphasized the need for more investment in the education sector, especially in expanding infrastructure so as to accommodate the overwhelming numbers of learners who have turned up when the schools reopened. Primary Education Minister Joyce Kaduchu pointed out that the education sector is undergoing recovery and has a lot of reforms, many infrastructure needs, and has to work on the mindset of both the teachers and the students. The Sports Minister Dennis Obua requested the UN agencies like UNICEF, UNHCR, and others to consider the integration of sports in some of their ongoing programs and activities. The Education Permanent Secretary, Katie Lamoro, and directors in the Education Ministry gave an update of the support of the UN agencies, including UNESCO, UNICEF, UNHCR, and WFP to the education sector. Now, in a move aimed at drumming up the support of the Operation Shuja joint military operation against the Allied Democratic Forces in North Kivu and Ituri in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, Uganda People's Defense Forces medics conduct medical outreach for both Congolese communities and the military forces to strengthen the civil-military relations in the operation area.
Armed conflict in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo have consistently damaged the country's ability to improve its healthcare facilities for years.
We are really helping the people around with most of our common conditions around. We are managing mostly public-related health issues. Yeah.
Uganda People's Defense Forces medics have now embarked on offering free medical services to communities in North Kivu and Ituri area, where it's currently flushing out the Allied Democratic Forces fighters.
As we moved in DRC, we have a big force, so we came basically to give medical attention to our forces, and where there's a community around, the civilians around, we also give them also medical assistance and services we provide. Really lacks health facilities. Most of them have been burnt down, so really we are helping mostly children and mothers.
UPDF medical team treatment of patients in Eastern Congo is meant to cement relationship between the defense forces and Congolese communities.
Tulikuwa hapa nateseka sana sio maneno ya vita, kila siku kukimbia. Omo kwanza sasa gizi mnakuya kwanza tuko bia haba fika tena.
Hali hapa tulisi namona toya vita vikali sana. Sole ya kona na tunalala ovyo kupori. Sasa sanye wasikari wanafika ndio tunaanzia lala kunyumba.
The medical clinics have brought a smile and joy to the Congolese in areas of Chabi, Brasi, and Boga, which currently have no health facilities.
Today we can have around 50 to 60 per day. Those are civilians. Yeah, those are serious cases, but these normal cases, sometimes we go to 80. It's kind of becomes overwhelming. So we try to divide ourselves into 3 teams, that at least to break down, to avoid overcrowding around, as usual for security purposes. Mothers who come for delivery cases, normal deliveries we do, and then in the abnormal ones, usually they move as far as Oicha. Oicha is somewhere a little bit ahead, some good kilometers, around 50 kilometers they go. But normal deliveries, and we handle them there and then. And yeah, we are doing well.
Captain Dr. Daniel Okello says they handle patients with different complications on daily basis. The medical exercise has drawn away reasonable numbers with serious complications. He expressed his profound gratitude to the high turn-up of patients, saying that it is a special moment to see the military off the battleground and offering medical services to Congolese.
Collaboration, the 2 countries, when they come up and they think of put some health facilities, then I think they can go ahead. But currently, what I'm sure of, which is going to happen within the shortest time, actually this coming week, what I'm sure of are the tents. We are going to put tents, medical tents in all those places.
Haruna Motesasira reporting for UBC News in Congo.
Now, the State Minister for Trade and Industry, David Bahati, has extended relief items to over 80 families which were affected by a strong hailstorm in Kabale district, which happened last week. The affected are in the 3 sub-counties of Butanda, Kahunje, Rakaramira, and in Ndorwa West constituency, Kabale, with many left shelterless.
On Wednesday, 9th March 2022, a hailstorm hit 3 sub-counties of Kabale district. This left houses and gardens of close to 80 families in Butanda, Kahunja and Rakaramira in Ndorwa West constituency totally damaged.
Appeal to the government really to assist us, because this place is hard to reach, and our people planted their own crops. They even harvested the nasi.
With many left without shelter, Butanda sub-county chairperson narrates the ordeal.
Abantu bari heru abo nabazire bo benka bari kwika abantu 25 abari kurara heru.
Nyamihanda Church of Uganda structures was also among those not spared by the hailstorm.
Habere hari mu temporary structure ahabweje kanisa yaretandikigweho juba kandi bine ntekateka orarebe misinje nyuma yo kugira ngo tubase kwimutize nyuma okugira ngo bombekere nyuma bagire permanent structure.
State Minister for Trade and Industry David Bahati, who also serves as the area member of parliament, has visited the affected areas.
People in Ndorwa West and Kabale have lost houses and property because of the rain that happened 2 days ago. And we have informed the Prime Minister, the Office of the Prime Minister. So as government, we are working hard to get support to these people.
The Minister has donated, among other items, iron sheets for recoveries of these families.
But in the meantime, I've been able to mobilize 650 iron sheets to distribute to those widows and poor families that whose houses have been totally destroyed by the rain. And we will continue to mobilize more support to help the people who were affected. At the same time, continue to encourage people to grow trees.
The assistance was highly appreciated by local residents. Over the years, Kigezi sub-region and particularly Kabale district has been prone to such disasters due to its hilly nature. Robert Onyango, UBC News.
Lira Catholic Diocese is looking for 1.5 billion Uganda shillings for the renovation and expansion of the dilapidated Bishop's House. The Bishop's residence that was constructed in 1964 when Lira Catholic Parish became a diocese has reportedly exceeded its lifespan by 28 years. The diocese is currently fundraising to renovate the rundown building.
Constructed in 1964 when Lira Catholic Parish became a diocese, the bishop's residence was to be used for 30 years. However, the dilapidated building has exceeded its lifespan by 28 years. With the visible cracks all over the walls and veranda, one can tell the bishop lives in shambles.
The bishop is living in this place comfortably for now because he's a shepherd. He cannot run away. He must shepherd these people. These rooms are not self-contained.
Besides the small rooms to accommodate the prelate's guests, the rooms are also not self-contained, meaning the bishop and his guests walk out whenever nature calls.
The current bishop's house, as we say, was those traditional buildings of the 60s. Most of the rooms there are not actually self-contained, and then of course the roof is also a little bit low, which needs to be raised high. Of course it is very hot these days, you know, and our region is usually a very hot place.
After completing the renovation of the main cathedral, the diocese is currently looking for 1.5 billion shillings to refurbish a magnificent and modern house for the bishop.
Your money will be well accounted for and will be put in good use. The experience we have had with the cathedral, you can always trust us.
But the president of Uganda and the government had promised me 400 million to begin the work, which since the corona, it has not yet been realized. But I'm sure His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, at appropriate time will give that money so that we begin. And the Christian communities have already started.
The money is expected to come from the Christian community and well-wishers. The diocesan chancellor and the chairperson Central Organizing Committee for the project, Reverend Father Emmanuel Opio, cautioned the prospective donors against fraudsters. Lira Catholic Diocese comprises of 10 districts in Lamu sub-region and has its headquarters seated at the gateway of Lira City. Eddie Olwa, UBC News.
Eddie Olwa, they're reporting from Lira. Makerere University's proposed online classes has received a big boost from a laptop financing scheme reached between Stanbic Bank and Makerere University management. The laptop loan scheme that was rolled out at a ceremony held at the university grounds is aimed at enabling learners carry out their research projects and other assignments. Stanbic Bank Uganda Chief Executive Anne Juko and Makerere University Vice Chancellor Professor Barnabas Nawangwe rolled out the scheme. We have the details.
Either digital or you are stone age. For us at Makerere, we are saying, no, we are not going to allow you to remain behind.
Makerere University students have received a laptop loan financing boost from Stanbic Bank. Monthly payment of 70,000 shillings by parents or guardians can now be done at any Stanbic Bank branch across the country.
Sure that we support you as students and the staff who are here to have access to high quality, educational interactions at the lowest possible cost.
Stanbic Bank Uganda Chief Executive and Yuko said the scheme is part of the partnership recently signed between the bank and the university.
If it's not working, come back and tell us so that we can work around it. But more than that, you as students today are VIP because we know that our future is on you.
Makerere University Vice Chancellor Professor Barnabas Nawangwe said with the laptops, online learning is now possible.
We have been having a debate around online classes and all this, and people are saying, we are too poor to do online. So you are actually saying, we are too poor to progress.
He urged student leadership to sensitize the student community to take advantage of the laptops to enhance their education.
So if we have been saying it is too expensive for us to get these gadgets, Stanbic has made this so affordable.
Makerere University's Guild President Shamim Nambasa said when the university was closed due to COVID-19, they were constrained to perfect online learning due to lack of laptops.
As academic minister before I became the Guild President,
And the time the universities were closed was the toughest for us. And the biggest question was always, where is the laptop bank?
She held Stanbic Bank for the laptop financing.
For us, seeing Stanbic Bank do this is beyond just the relationship and partnership. It's about how much you've redefined the education sector.
Laptop financing scheme for Makerere University students comes at a time when the university is marking 100 years of existence under the theme, Building a Transformed Society.
At Stanbic Bank Uganda, we say that Uganda is our home and we drive her growth. And we're extremely excited because we're providing real solutions to real problems.
Sudat Kaye, UBC News.
We were here, and when we
A number of schools are going through a hard time due to the impact of COVID-19. Ntinda School for the Deaf, which is a government school, is one of the schools that is not at ease as a consequence of COVID-19 pandemic that previously led to the school's closure. Head teacher Juliet Mary Tumuhire says they're going through hard times in paying the school bills, such as electricity and water, among others.
As schools like the rest of the economy recover from the impact of COVID-19, they require sufficient support. The head teacher at Ntinda School for the Deaf, Juliet Mary Tumuhire, says much as they receive UPE funds, it's insufficient to facilitate all their needs, including non-teaching staff. Tumuhire admits that much as the parents are supposed to contribute 500,000 shillings, as the cost of sharing majority cannot afford as a result of COVID-19.
To have food in the stores, sometimes we run shortage of food in the stores. There we have to reduce the portion we serve to the learners.
Through Worldwide Impacts, a recycling company, they are now offering meals to 296 children in the school every Saturday. The director Worldwide Impacts, Jitu Sorathia, says this is giving back to the community after identifying the children with impaired disabilities in the schools are not getting balanced diet.
That day when we came here and see the situation was not good of the food here. So that's why every Saturday we started giving the food since 2017 to up to now. Whenever school is on, we every Saturday bring the food and we serve them.
He added that as a company they are working around the clock to open up vocational center for the children to be equipped with vocational skills.
Future we are planning to start the vocational training center. So when the children they finish the school, so they don't need to ask the job and when they are deaf, it's very difficult to get the job. So they will survive themselves, they will start the small business. So in the future, we'll start the vocational training center.
UBC News Tonight. A National Union of Women with Disabilities of Uganda has demanded for inclusion of women in top government positions, cautioning for an act to assert ownership among people with disabilities. This message was echoed at the organization's 20 years of service. We have more.
For your kind remarks.
On 8th March, Uganda marked International Women's Day, and today National Union of Women with Disabilities of Uganda are commemorating 20 years of serving people with disabilities. While marking the 2 decades celebrations, NWODU chairperson Achara Rose Obol highlighted on the organization's achievements for the past 20 years.
Our journey has been to make them know all this, and so that they are able to understand, appreciate, and demand for some of these rights. We have also seen the women's rights movement coming up, and for us our advocacy is that let's look at ourselves as women in totality.
But persons with a disability still face challenges that include the wrong attitude at workplaces by employers and inclusion in government job allocations.
COVID needs, you need to wash your hands all the time. But as a woman with a disability, as a single mother, not having any viable economic empowerment on a daily basis. And we are seeing soap now is at 7,000. So will this woman with disability be able to maintain herself with the high rocking prices of the essential commodities? So I think these are some of the things that for us we really need government to understand and see how best we can make intervention. Yes.
The organization's programs manager, Yunus Among, was asked by high levels of gender-based violence among persons with disabilities and demanded for an act to ownership of assets and property among women with disabilities.
Is hindering women with disabilities from fully being employed in various areas. Attitude. There is a burden that there is something that employers usually say that having a woman with a disability employed, if someone is visually impaired, that person needs a personal assistant, which means you're employing two people.
Nwod is celebrating 20 years on changing lives of women with disabilities, although cases of domestic violence, gender inequality still remain rampant. Ivan Juko, Flower Semper, UBC News.
Civil society organizations have urged the parliamentary committee in charge of amending the public health bill to ensure enforcing of mandatory COVID-19 vaccination among the public is handled lightly. Civil society organizations based this on the exorbitant fine given to someone who will decline to respond to the mandatory COVID-19 vaccination, as the law for public health will be amended. Take a look.
Vaccinated again. We need to put mechanisms in place for data protection.
For over 87 years, Uganda has been using the Public Health Act enacted in 1935 to address issues concerning public health. Is to revise the fines for offences committed under the Act, to repeal the provision on venereal diseases, to repeal the Venereal Disease Act Cap 284, and the Immunization Act of 2017, emergency diseases like Ebola, Marburg, HIV/AIDS, among others. The amendment of the bill, which is still underway, includes a provision where one has to go for a mandatory COVID-19 vaccination, and failure to comply with the provision, you will pay a fine of 4 million or jailed for 6 months.
Key issues coming out, the issues of mandatory and vaccination and revaccination. We have presented to Parliament that one, the excessive fees paid by a person who fails to get vaccinated an issue. We have also indicated to them that if we really have to do mandatory vaccination, it should be a last resort. We totally understand that rights can be limited, but where we have to take it, we must be sure that one, we have the stock.
Just to look at this act as particularly a COVID-19 act. This act looks at other public health actors beyond COVID, beyond infectious diseases. What we're actually trying to do in this act is to tease out non-communicable diseases, which are preventable.
In a consultative meeting between the Parliamentary Health Committee, civil society organizations gave their view on this provision.
It comes to economic, social, and cultural rights. So one of the critical tools that we have decided to use is the Human Rights Enforcement Act, because one of our approaches is a human rights-based approach. And this human rights-based approach is because we understand that unequal power relations in society and social inclusion keeps people in poverty and denies them.
Civil society organizations also want a focus on the non-communicable diseases than it is with the communicable diseases.
As a country, our Public Health Act has been long overdue. It's an act of 1935. So the first thing I think we're trying to do is to ensure that we amend it to cater for the current trends.
We proposed it on the government necessity to monitor and provide basic needs to individuals quarantined or isolated in these places, because we put them in the places, but how they struggle or how they go through their health status is not indicated. Again, when COVID had just hit, you are required to be in hospital by yourself, right? How you ate, how you struggled, how you went through was not very much provided for. So we think that this law gives us the opportunity to think about the government obligation to monitor, but also...
These, among others, are some of the views from stakeholders to the Parliamentary Health Committee in the process of amending the Public Health Bill of 2021, which later will be tabled to Parliament for discussion. Ivan Juko, Deborah Namamonde, UBC News.
Now, doctors are attributing the prevailing cases of flu and cough in children to change in weather conditions. Dr. Onzima Felix, a medical officer at Chiswa Health Center 3 in Kampala, advises parents to give children a balanced diet and plenty of fluids to boost their immunity. Take a look.
If you have children between 1 to 5 years and have not sought any medication for either flu or cough, consider yourself lucky. Many parents and guardians are struggling to treat the rampant flu and cough among children. A visit to Chiswa Health Center 3 in Kampala showed that 118 cases of flu and cough were registered in December 2021, 64 cases in January, and 140 in February 2022.
This particular month of Feb, we have started again seeing rise because we are having prolonged dry spell.
True, actually we are seeing a number of children with the symptoms of flu and cough, and many of them, they tend to come with some fever also.
Parents and guardians confess that they have tried different treatment, but no improvement.
So given her more than enough medicine. Myself, I've gotten doses 4 times. Is it azithromycin, erythromycin, ampiclox, and all those? Ampicillin, Ceftriaxone, cough, Linctus, Zecap, and so many. We've used many.
Doctors have advised parents to give plenty of fluids.
Let them take much of those warm fluids which are not from the fridge. And at the same time, yeah, the orange juices, yes, they can provide a lot of vitamin C. Vitamin C can protect the mucous membranes, and I think that is a good thing to do at home.
However, avoid giving children fluids which contain a lot of acid, as this may erode the lining of the stomach.
And we actually have seen many cases of peptic ulcers now in even children, like around 7 years, those who go in, sometimes probably they could be taking a lot of those acidic fluids. But you can always try to make sure it's not too much.
Doctors have, however, cautioned parents and guardians against administering unprescribed medication to children. Adiana Kuti, UBC.
Well, thank you so much, Diana Kuti, for that report on flu and cough that has been on many parents' minds, the children being affected by these diseases. Well, thank you so much for that. Now, moving on, the former Executive Director, Uganda Investment Authority, Dr. Maggie Chikozi, has urged a women rights organization to focus on empowering an African woman. She asserts that if women are empowered right from the grassroots, it will foster economic development at all levels. Dr. Maggie was officiating at a feminism book launch for Dr. Hilda Tadria Kabushega, the founder of Mentoring and Empowering Program for Young Women at Fairway Hotel in Kampala.
A book that will bring the African women's rights into modern age has been launched in Uganda by the former Executive Director, Uganda Investment Authority, Dr. Maggie Chikozi. The book, entitled Stand, was authored by the world-renowned feminist and gender equality advocate, Dr. Hilda Tadria Kabushega, the founder of Mentoring and Empowering Program for Young Women, MEPRO. Dr. Maggie Chikozi, who applauds MEPRO for empowering women in Africa, says such modern books which focus on women issues have knowledge which helps to diminish challenges they face.
You need to support the women. And the book called Stand, it will help you to understand what women go through and how their lives can be made better.
According to the author, Dr. Hilda Tadria Kabushega, a social anthropologist, the book is meant for women struggling to stand for their rights and gender justice. It also explores the focus that enabled her to defy patriarchy.
We need to stand. But in terms of full enjoyment of our rights, we definitely are not on the right track because we still have very high violence against women. we still have women who are economically not able to sustain their lives. So there's still a lot of work to do, but at least you can speak out. That for me is a major achievement.
Some of the MEPRO beneficiaries say they have been empowered with self-reliant skills.
The benefits that I got was self-awareness. I got to know who I am. When I became self-aware, I got to know that I am the one who actually leads from the front. It's not my husband.
This book launch was commemorative with the International Women's Day, which was celebrated with focus on breaking the bias on women. Robert Waita, Irene Nakungu, UBC News.
Well, UBC News Tonight takes a very short break, but we'll return with business stories and more.
MBs are now bigger MBs only on MTN. When you load a daily band of 250 shillings, you no longer get 15 MBs, you get 30 MBs. For 500 shillings, you no longer get 40 MBs, you get 80 MBs. For 1,000 shillings, it's no longer 100 MBs, it's 180 MBs. Dial *150 *10 hash or use the My MTN app to load bigger daily bundles only on MTN.
MTN is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
COVID-19 is still here with us. As Sheikh Ramadan Muwajji, the Mufti of Uganda, states, let us all take the necessary precautions.
Prevention is always better than cure. Let's not go for prayers in mosques, congregational prayers, unless we are masked. Carry your own prayer mat. Sanitize at the entrance. Let's all value the gift of life.
Because of the new COVID-19 circulating variants like Omicron, it is very important for all of us to be fully vaccinated with 2 doses of the same vaccine type. It's only those getting Johnson & Johnson who receive only a single dose to be fully protected.
Even after vaccination, continue to adhere to all SOPs by wearing a mask properly, covering your mouth and nose, washing your hands regularly with soap and clean water or using an alcohol-based sanitizer, maintaining physical distance of at least 2 meters from others and avoiding crowds. Echa COVID-19, chija kugwa. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and partners.
There have always been hard times, but these days are harder than most. Everyone is hurting. Everyone needs help. But some among us are asking the question, what if we didn't have to go through life's hardest moments alone? What if we were in it together? And just by asking that question, he changed my son's life. He created an online crowdfunding platform for Ugandans to help raise money for each other.
Thank you, Nixon, for helping me.
This is a story of a regular Ugandan just like you, who harnessed the power of technology to provide a solution for us. How about you tell us your story? UG needs more of you. To share your story, visit airtel.co.ug/UG needs more of you or call or SMS 162. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Welcome back from that break, and now into the world of business. Uganda Civil Aviation Authority this evening awarded 12 most outstanding and long-serving women who have served in the aviation sector for 30 years since its existence. This follows the recent just concluded Women's Day celebration as a sign of motivation and recognizing women's service delivery. The awarding ceremony was officiated by Director General UCAA Fred Bamwesije at their head offices in Entebbe.
These are the most outstanding women who have served Uganda's aviation sector for more than 3 decades. As an institution, Uganda Civil Aviation Authority has a policy to appreciate workers in all aspects. But this has been a remarkable achievement with the display of patience, discipline and good performance by these ladies who started the institution about 30 years ago.
Therefore, it has been one of those
very, very remarkable achievements that we need to celebrate.
The added value they have had on an organization is enormous. If you look at where Civil Aviation Authority has come from, last year we celebrated 30 years of our achievements. If you look where we have come from and where we are today, there's no way we would have achieved it without people who have worked for 30 years.
It has been noted that women's inclusion in the aviation sector has been increasing over the years at a ratio of about 30%. Many women have been fully represented. However, there is a call for increased participation, especially in the technical areas.
But if you look at the technical areas, we have several women who are actually engaged in the technical areas. And for you to reach a certain level of management in that area, you need training of about 5 years.
The Director General of Uganda Civil Aviation Authority, Fred Bamwesigye, reminded them to prepare for their retirement as they are nearing their retirement age to pave way for the new generation.
It is our duty as employers to continue to sound this message that there is a time for retirement as a way of helping our staff to continue living a happy life even after retirement.
Today, some people have lost jobs, many, but I thank God. I still appreciate management for whatever they put in me to make me what I am today. That includes the training.
Some of the recognized ladies include Margaret Nabukenya. The most outstanding 12 women awarded include Tibigamba Rosemary, Apio Grace Miriam, Sendege Awini, Nyemera Moli Businje, Nakafero Aisha, Ndibuliawa Robina, Nakazi Olivia, Luanga Edith, Kalyango Mili, Nakakande Jaska, Nabukenya Margaret, and Nakisi Pauline. The recognition of the long-serving ladies in Uganda's aviation sector has come in the time when the country has recently joined the rest of the world to mark the Women's Day under the year's theme,
so this is a good achievement.
The Bias.
In fact, for me, I am surrounded because
The Board of Directors of Uganda Coffee Development Authority has visited coffee farmers and nursery operators in the Rwenzori region to appraise and evaluate the performance of the authority field activities. The board chairman, Dr. Charles Mugoya, assured support to them from the authority to benefit in farming.
The board visited Royal Plants nurseries in Kenjojo with different species. The managing director, Tumushabe Narisisi, appreciated the authority for its tireless efforts, aimed to support them and appeal to it to get market for their seedlings.
We do production without assurance of where the market is. Through collaboration with UCDA, we have started seeing signs that we can produce, and UCDA guarantees the market.
The board chairperson, Uganda Coffee Development Authority, Charles Mugoya, says farmers are determined and is sure that by 2025, Uganda's target to produce 20 million bags will be achieved.
Coffee is a commodity crop which can give the highest income per acre if it's well done among all the crops that we have. So I encourage them to invest in coffee. And it's a tree, so it doesn't have a lot of challenges that other crops face.
From here, the board visited Ian Clark that grows coffee on over 600 acres that employs 80% Ugandan workers. At a sister's coffee farm in Kabalore, Goreti Birunji grows coffee on 35 acres.
We are facing a challenge of managing this coffee to the standards. And the funds we are getting, since it is still on the growing stage, we really lack enough funds to make it to the standards. If it was possible for the UCDA to help us and give us some little money to continue nurturing our farm, would be so great.
At Muyamba Organic Coffee in Karugongo Sub-County has over 500 acres. The director of the farm narrated to the authority board members that the soil does not support robust, and he realized it late that led him to loss.
They started telling me that this altitude, this is for Arabic. What you people had done was Robusta. So we had to go back and start all over again.
The board member, Dr. Sadiq Kasim, says a lot has been discovered during this trip, and the authority still has huge task to perform.
All we were
trying to know is to verify and understand how the supplies were. And I'm very happy there is evidence, they are well planted, and there's that progress, especially the ones that supplied through UCDA, that there's progress towards settling those balances.
The authority assures farmers and nursery operators to solve the challenges of low market for coffee, plus for the seedlings. Andrew Sebira compiled the story.
The thing goes clink, clink, clink. Woo.
Grab an ice-cold bottle of Pepsi Max today and drink to your bold lifestyle. Enjoy maximum taste with no sugar. Now available at a shop near you. Maximum taste, no sugar.
Enjoy convenience today with Airtel Money School Pay. Dial *185#. Select option 6, school fees. Select option 2, school pay. Select option 1, pay fees. Enter student number. Enter the amount. Enter the PIN number to complete payment. Beat the back-to-school hustle today. Pay school fees conveniently using Airtel Money. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
And now into sports. Commonwealth Games Association Uganda has launched its inaugural Commonwealth Sports School Spirit Club initiative. It will be achieved with schools and aims at instilling Commonwealth Games Federation values and integrate them into their sports and daily lives. Take a look.
Commonwealth Games Association Uganda has partnered with 32 schools to implement a Game Changers program that aims at instilling Commonwealth sports values.
So we would like to see this happen. We can have more than the 32 schools, but we want to see that we use these 32 as centers of excellence in conjunction with Ministry of Education and Sport.
The schools will be tasked with forming a spirit clubs that will play a handful of roles with a supervision from teachers that are going to be trained before interaction with the learners.
4 years, 6 years you're in a school, we believe you should be able to join a club that has been formed under this project. There are already some programs going on by schools. Earlier on we had heard of many programs, activities which are being initiated by the school. We like this to be able to enhance those activities as long as it focuses on sports.
On top of inculcating the Commonwealth sports values of humanity, equality and destiny, the schools are to benefit from a talent identification drive.
We believe, like the Secretary General said, there are some sports that may be dormant, that probably they have equipment, but we want to invigorate them to start using those equipment, the different sports, to be able to encourage as many to participate.
The launch of this inaugural Commonwealth Sports Schools Spirit Clubs was attended by officials from Kibuli SS, Mbogo and Gayaza High School.
This stated, once we have the training that has been highlighted, the teachers will be able to implement it in schools and also in communities to ensure that these learners become ambassadors of the Commonwealth values, especially the gender equality.
Excellent schools and individual learners will be rewarded and also used for future of this project, whose launch coincides with the celebration of the Commonwealth Day. It's one of the activities in the lead up to the Commonwealth Games due in Birmingham, UK this coming July. John Barnes, Sentamo, reporting.
Uganda Gaelic Sports Association has hosted the Ireland Ambassador to Uganda, His Excellency Kevin Colgan, at Mercy Childcare Ministries in Wakiso District. The ambassador was left impressed by the way Ugandans adapt to a new sport like hurling and Gaelic football, which are Ireland's mainstay.
Ugandans' ability to master the art of any sport has surprised the Ireland ambassador to Uganda, His Excellency Calvin Colgan. The ambassador was guest at Mercy Childcare Ministries, where the Uganda Gaelic Sports Association hosted a mini gala for these new sports.
We saw skills here today that I never expected to see in Uganda, and congratulations to the coaches and the team that put this together. I know I will send photographs of this back to Ireland, and people in Ireland will be amazed at what they've seen today.
The National Indigenous GAA Games of hurling and Gaelic football are the main sport on a national level in Ireland and enjoy nationwide popularity even ahead of soccer and rugby. The appeal of the sport that contributes income to many in Ireland is the reason Uganda has embraced it, with the targets far and beyond what sport provides.
Our kids have gotten to play this sport. Actually, they've been training for 1 week. It's been exciting to see how much they have learned, how they have improved and how they've played. And we see sport as a way of helping develop these kids' skills, and also help them to get all that energy out and also develop. Because we believe in education, not in just one dimension of the books alone. We're looking at also educating kids through their physical skills that God has given them. So this is an opportunity for them to bring out those special gifts God has given them.
Gaelic football and hurling have hardly been heard of before this, but to the organizers, the first small steps have proved a good future ahead. The Ireland ambassador was treated to a competition in which Mercy Christian School triumphed over a select community team.
Now, the 2022 National Basketball League is underway with the opening games hosted at the MTN Arena, Lugogo. In the women's game, Kampala International University Rangers beat Kampala Capital City Authority Leopards 69-63 in a very lively game. Rachel Odiambo top scored for Kampala International University Rangers with 17 points, with Hope Alessi managing 15 and Foldauchi Namleme returning 10. In the men's clash, City Oilers' dream of an 8th consecutive league title were held a blow by Namuongo Blazers that won 72-65. Amisi Saidi Kamelo led the way for Namuongo Blazers with 19 points, and Richard Ongom added 15 as Joseph Ikong dropped 14. In other games played thus far in the league, Kampala Capital City Panthers edged Victoria University 57-47, while Nabisunsa outclassed A1 Challenge. Action continues tomorrow with the 5 games at the MTN Arena in Lugogo. Well, would like to thank you so much for your company this lovely Saturday evening. We've surely enjoyed it. On behalf of the newsroom team, the control room team, and myself and Muhammad Mugalu, we wish you a lovely night. We'll leave you with Sempa Alex Kim with our weather forecast for tomorrow. Good night.
Latest in weather from the Weather Center with Sempa Alex Kim. Sunny intervals dominated our skies across the country, though in the afternoon some parts of the western as well as parts of the northwestern have received some isolated rainfall. Now, the kind of weather we are dealing with is basically attributed to the Congo air mass that is pushing in moist winds into a region. That is why the western is quite active, but the rain belt is quite diffuse across our region. That is why we still have dry conditions. Otherwise, in the near future, we do expect a pickup of wet weather activities because the cyclone called Gombe over the Indian Ocean that was reducing any chances of wet weather activities has now dissipated. Tomorrow morning, we do expect to see sunny conditions across most parts of the country, though along the Lake Victoria Basin, we do expect some light isolated rainfall. But in the afternoon, we do expect a pickup of wet weather activities across the western sector of the country, as well as parts of the eastern. That will be mainly due to locally induced rainfall. Because of that, we do expect temperatures to be really hot, that is across Karamoja region at 35 and 30 in Kampala, and in Kabale Highlands we are forecasting at 24 degrees centigrade. And elsewhere across the globe, we are forecasting cold conditions that will be in Washington at a daytime high of only 5 degrees centigrade. But for Nairobi, cloudy conditions and sunny intervals at a daytime high over 30. And in London, chances of rainfall at a daytime high over 11 degrees centigrade. With that, we conclude it. Stay tuned and join us again tomorrow, same time.